Hi, my name is Katie. Today I'm going to be reacting / responding to my old video where I introduced myself. It's going to be very interesting because I watched a little bit of this video already when Ryland asked me if I would be willing to react to it, and from what I watched, I had a very strange feeling watching it, like it wasn't me in the video. And I don't mean that I think another alter was lying about being me, but what I think happened is that somebody split off from me since that video, because there have been a handful of very traumatic things that have happened to me since that video, and I think probably someone did split off from me at one point, and I didn't realize at the time because I was processing the trauma and kind of trying to recover from that, and I only am now realizing watching it back I don't recognize myself in the video.
My name is Katie. I am the host of this system. I've been the host for about 10.5 years, so since I was 7.
I don't think that I would call myself the host anymore, at least not right now. It's not that somebody else is the host, it's just that we kind of don't have one right now. There's not one person who's out most of the time or out every single day. I can go from being out 5 days in a row to being out every 3 days to being out not at all for a couple of weeks. And I'm not saying that I will never be the host again or that we'll never have a host again. It's just right now it's kind of not working out trying to have one.
And for the longest time I didn't know that I had DID or alters, or that I was an alter, or even that there was trauma. For years I didn't know about the trauma because my alters held it for me.
I didn't know about the DID, obviously, for a very long time. I didn't know about some of the trauma. I did know about quite a bit of it, actually. I just, even at the time of making that video, I guess, I wasn't aware that some of the things that I have been through that I remembered were considered traumatic. I don't think I really knew what trauma even meant. There were a lot of things that I was and am traumatized from that I didn't think about being traumatic. So the sexual abuse is what I was referring to in that video. And no, I didn't remember that, and I still don't remember much of it. But there were a lot of other things that happened to me in my childhood that I do remember and that were traumatic. It's been something that I've had to come to terms with through even more therapy.
So when I was diagnosed about 2 years ago, I didn't really understand.
This is a completely unrelated note to anything that I actually said, but I just realized I had both of my knees up like that in the video. I can't do that anymore. Whenever I bend my left knee, even for a couple of seconds, whenever I straighten it again, it's really like crunchy sounding. And if I leave it like that for the duration of this whole video, it would be extremely painful to try and straighten it again. Interesting how even my physical capabilities have changed. Makes me kind of nervous to see 4 years from now. Anyway, I'm not trying to be depressing, so.
I knew that I'd been losing time, but I didn't really think that it could be DID because I didn't think there was trauma. but I was diagnosed by a professional who had worked with DID for, I want to say, 35 years. So I trusted her, and through a lot of therapy, I came to terms with it.
It's really interesting hearing myself say that I didn't think that it could be DID. I guess that's true. I don't really remember, like, being diagnosed. I remember a few meetings with the psychiatrist who diagnosed me, but we met for a very long time. I don't actually know how long we met. I remember very little of it. And I didn't remember until watching this that I didn't think it was DID at first. I don't know what I thought it was. I remember my parents having me get an MRI because they thought it could be like something wrong with my brain physically, like seizures or something, or I don't know what. And I remember being very scared of that possibility. I don't really remember, like, when DID got brought up for the first time, I don't remember if I thought that it was not a possibility or what. I don't remember now at all, but I guess I'll trust what I said then.
At first, I couldn't communicate with the alters at all. I couldn't go to my inner world. I couldn't really control anything, any aspect of this.
I did not have access to the inner world for a period of time, and I know that I couldn't communicate with the others, I guess, but I don't actually remember it. And it's funny because when I was little, I definitely could access the inner world from the time I was. The earliest memory I have of some part of my inner world, I was maybe 4. And I was accessing it pretty regularly, different parts of my inner world. I think on and off up until high school started, and that's when I really stopped being able to, because I was using it as a form of escapism, and I didn't realize that I had alters. I just knew that I went somewhere else. And to me, it felt very real. And then once high school started, I wanted a fresh start. And I was going to a new school. No one knew who I was. Nobody thought of me as the weird girl. Nobody bullied me yet. Nobody knew anything about me. And I wanted to try and handle high school without any of the escapism or any of the coping mechanisms that I had before, and I somehow, in my mind, just completely blocked them away. And it seems like for a while in high school, I didn't even remember that I had an inner world. I didn't even remember going there at all. I somehow completely just wiped it from my mind. And it's very strange because now I don't remember almost any of high school at all. And so once I was diagnosed, for a while, I had to relearn how to get to my inner world, I guess. I don't think it worked trying to block away that aspect of myself, which I thought was hurting me. I don't think it worked because high school wasn't a good experience for me, even though nobody knew me and I was trying to be someone new. It didn't work, and that's when the alters eventually really started fronting a lot, and I never actually finished high school. I got a GED instead, so see how well that worked out.
There were signs, I think, that I had alters all through when I was growing up, but nobody really put them together and figured out that that's what was happening until it became more apparent, I guess.
There were definitely signs growing up. We have a video of me and my mom talking about all the different signs, which I recognize myself not at all in that video either, so, but it just, for what it's worth. But yes, that is a very good video discussing a lot of the different signs and things that we kind of missed, just in relation to alters specifically, not even considering the fact that I was going to this inner world a lot and telling people about it. I mean, I told my parents, I told my other family members, cousins, my friends, everybody who was in my life, who I remotely trusted, was hearing these stories about this world that I went to, and I think everybody just thought that I was over imaginative. I'm not sure.
I'm still learning how to deal with it, and I'm still learning what it means to me, but I can explain to you the best I can what being the host is like. Basically, I'm the one who people recognize. People who don't know about the DID, we're all just Katie to them.
So even though I'm not the host anymore, that is still true. And I've always thought that it was a little bit weird that I was the host, that I was the one who got the name Katie after Catherine kind of went dormant and she was our previous host before I took over at age 7. I know that it's mainly because I identify the most with what the body looks like and with the name Katie. That's really the only reason that people see us and think Katie. But the truth is, the Katie that people see, people who don't know about the DID, it isn't any of us. It's not me. It's just a mask. And it took me a long time to realize that, I think. But when other alters are pretending to be Katie, they're not being honest with who they are, but they're not Katie. They're just quiet, essentially. Very, very quiet, trying to blend in. And when I'm out, I do the exact same thing unless I really, really trust people. So almost everybody who's met me doesn't know anything about me. It can feel really lonely not having anybody know you, the real you. And I don't blame that fully on the DID, I blame it mostly on trauma, because I'm too scared to talk to people and to be honest about my experiences. And how can I be honest about my experiences when I'm hiding the fact that I don't remember anything that you talked to me about yesterday when you're talking to me today, because that wasn't me, and I'm just nodding along, and I have to create this whole fake relationship with everybody that I meet, so I really just am closed off. And that's how we kind of live our life, and I don't know another way to do it. Because we can't just go around and tell everybody. That's been proven time and time again to not be safe. So we kind of just live this life where we wear a mask around everybody that we know, and we're only really ourselves with people who we know really deeply and trust, and complete strangers on the internet. And it's such a strange way to live, but it's just how things have to be, I guess.
So there is a certain pressure to not switch, to just be Katie, because if anybody else comes out, then people might think something's wrong, or, think it's weird or whatever. And sometimes I used to hold it in so much that it would drive me to get really bad migraines for a really long time, because it's painful to try and suppress the alters and not let them switch when you're triggered.
I don't think the migraines were fully caused by that, but it definitely exacerbated the issue.
And I would get such bad anxiety. I had to leave school because my anxiety was so high. I was so afraid that an alter would come out and people would know.
So like I was talking about before, how I left school and I got my GED, that was in high school. That was when I was trying to shut down my experiences of the inner world and the alters that I was previously able to interact with there, who I didn't know were alters. When I tried to block all of that out of my life is really when it all, after a couple of years of that, it all came flooding back harder. And I don't know if it's because the alters were sick of being completely locked away. They were used to still having some form of communication and some form of experience with the world, and I somehow shoved all of that down so deep, and I don't think that they liked that. I don't blame them. And so they would start fronting more and more and more in high school and being much more obvious about it, especially with me and my family, but also sometimes in school. And me being extremely socially anxious and just trying to blend in to get by and survive. I was so terrified of this happening, of an alter coming out in school and saying to everyone, I'm not Katie, I'm so-and-so, and having people think that something was wrong with me. Because before high school, my entire school experience was bullying and escapism. In class, I didn't talk at all, ever. Except in art class, when I could sit next to my one friend and talk to her. And at recess, I was too afraid to raise my hand because even if I knew the answer, I was scared of the ridicule that I would get from the other classmates for the way that I said the answer, the way that I talked, or the way that I behaved, the way I walked. Every little thing that I did was always picked apart. And I didn't want that to happen. And I was so scared of people knowing something was wrong with me. But I couldn't stop it from happening, and it happened anyway. And then I left. I did homeschooling for a little while, and I couldn't keep up with it. So, like I said, I got my GED. Wow. I feel like I'm in therapy right now.
Most of the people in the world, they have to be out all the time because they don't have somebody else to come take over and do things for them. I'm lucky in that way. It's horrible the way that the disorder forms and the way we've been treated by a lot of people because of it and the anxiety it brings, but it is there for a reason, and it can be helpful also.
As much as I struggled coming to terms with it and accepting myself and my system, before I accepted it, I lived my whole life with alters coming out and me losing time. And I cannot imagine having to be out 24/7. Like, I can't even conceptualize the idea of being out all the time. Every single non-system watching this, you are amazing to me, and I applaud you for living your life and not going into an alternate reality to cope, or going to sleep for a few days. Like, that is honestly impressive to me.
Other things about me, I have 4 other siblings younger than me. I love to write. I'm working on getting a book published right now.
So, this is kind of embarrassing because I mentioned that I was working on getting a book published. In that video, people have since asked me about it. Turns out that whole thing was a giant scam. My grandma paid for my book to be published by a self-publishing company. They never published it. They only called me multiple times a week asking me to pay for additional things like cover art and promotional material and just all these other things that I said I wasn't even worried about until they actually published the book itself. Or helped me edit it, which was supposed to be included in the package. Yeah, none of it ever happened. And finally I told them I was no longer interested and blocked them. And now I get hundreds of calls from hundreds of different numbers of publishing companies that I guarantee all got their number from that same place, and I have blocked dozens and dozens of numbers, and I still get them, and I probably will until the day I die, so.
I'm probably the least athletic person on the planet. I'm very socially awkward and shy. Not shy, but like anxious a lot.
Definitely shy. I don't know why I said not shy. Anxious, yes. Also shy. Also awkward. All of the above.
And it's kind of going to be hard for me to put this up because I don't like putting myself out there to a lot of people.
That's still true, and I am very anxious to put this up. And I am very introverted. And that's what I was kind of getting at before, that it's ironic that I ended up being the host because there are so many in the system way more social and outgoing than I am. But like I was kind of trying to say before, I'm still uploading this even though I am anxious about it, because otherwise, when do I get to be honest? And when do I get to be myself and talk about my real experiences with a lot of people? It's very therapeutic for me.
I'm so sorry. There are a lot of people in this house and a lot of animals.
We are now in a different house. I don't know if you could tell. We're in a different house now. So no, not a lot of people, not a lot of animals, just the system and Hong.
I also play the piano. I used to take dance for a long time, but I quit for personal reasons.
I'm pretty sure everyone in the system plays piano, so I don't know why I mentioned that. And as far as the dance thing, yeah, I took dance lessons for a long time, and now I barely remember any of that at all. There are some alters who remember it really well and still really like dancing. I remember a little bit about it. I remember my teachers.
I write music. I'm trying to think what all I can even say about myself because I'm just so stressed at this point.
It's a little bit hard to watch this back. From just how awkward I am. And I'm probably not much better now. I don't know if I am or not, but it's still, I don't know why it's hitting me now. It's still, I'm
gonna end it here because I don't know what else to say and I'm nervous. So, bye.
Oh, thank God. Okay. Thank you for watching. And thank you for allowing me to be myself and actually allow people to know me. Thank you for wanting to know me. And if you like the video and you want to see more like this, subscribe, hit the like button, say whatever you want to say in the comments. Thank you. Bye.